Hello and welcome again to my channel. Bit of a treat today for you. Not only have I written a story based on 5 random words as appearing below, but if you look at the previous video, which is a little vlog entry, you'll see that I've actually outlined the process by which I come up with these stories. And just to prove that it's valid, I've written the story that is based on those words that came up during that little tutorial. So this is it. It is called Shark's Fin Soup. The restaurant trade is one of the most competitive and challenging businesses going. There are too many restaurateurs and too few gourmets. It costs £20,000 to launch a restaurant, and whether it succeeds or fails depends upon the vision and drive of 2 people primarily: the owner and the head chef. A creative chef can make or break a new eatery. An owner with vision, determination and sales nous can make a business in the doldrums the hottest thing going. When Stephanie Llewellyn took over the Laguna restaurant on the Margate seafront, it was another ailing fish and chips place whose owners thought putting octopus on the menu was a bold move. Stephanie saw an opening for something a little different, having noticed the young hip crowd that was revitalising the English seaside town. She already owned a chain of upmarket seafood places all along the English Riviera and on Scotland's west coast. Her formula was straightforward: gut the interiors and redecorate in fresh off-white and blue colours, create a fusion menu with an ethnic leaning: British Turkish, British Japanese, British Greek, hire a chef who knew his stuff, and offer a small selection of set meals and a la carte options. Maintain an excellent wine list with a focus towards whites. Add a few cookie twists. Her Vietnamese restaurant had outdoor tables built into rickshaws. She'd called it cyclo. Her Greek place provided a free dessert platter at the end of each meal, a custom she'd encountered in Crete. For Margate, Stephanie wanted to try her hand at that most competitive of all cuisines, the Chinese takeaway. Of course, she wanted it to be a little different, hence its acrobat theme and the juggling waiters. Unwilling to compromise, she hired the best Chinese chef around, Cheng Zi, luring him away from Claridge's with the promise of total freedom. Unfortunately, the self-consciously hip denizens of Margate didn't take to her quirks and innovations. They weren't quite wealthy enough to pay £9 per dim sum starter either. She was launching only a few months after the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown was finally lifted, and people were still wary of congregating in public. 3 months in, she was losing £9,000 a week, subsidising Shanghai Circus's losses from her other businesses' meagre profits. Cheng Zi was innovative, but there was little he could do while the industry generally was down, especially without a ready supply of London day trippers. How could she get those elite diners to make it out to the circus for the traditional Chinese street food experience? Not with the bacon and egg breakfast dumplings that were their biggest draw with locals. Then Stephanie read about a phenomenon fast dying out, a dish that would get them noticed. "Shark's fin soup," Stephanie said triumphantly, whilst Cheng was prepping for another disappointing Friday night. Powerful aromas wafted into her nostrils, reminding her why she'd fought for Chen so assiduously. Cheng looked at her quizzically, holding his tongue. "Come on, Cheng," Stephanie continued. "Don't tell me you don't know what I'm talking about." Cheng shook his head. He had a pot of fresh scallops to attend to, and dumplings that would be ruined if steamed a moment too long. "It's a delicacy, isn't it?" Stephanie said. "Dates back to, what, the Song dynasty?" Stephanie loved passing off Wikipedia articles as her own general knowledge. The other day, she tried to tell Cheng all about the Great Wall. As ever, stoicism was key when dealing with his boss. Cheng thought of the 90k a year he was being paid and bit his tongue. Stephanie tried a different tack. "Everyone's so goddamn PC. I know a lot of people who love their foie gras, their live lobster and their veal. We could make this place a haven for ethically agnostic eating." Cheng was baffled. He began to wrestle with the urge to tell his boss to fuck off and leave him to slice bamboo shoots in peace. Do you know how much we can sell shark's fin soup for? She continued, as oblivious as ever to the mood of the room, as the sous chefs and pot washers stopped what they were doing to watch Cheng quietly simmering. 90 quid a bowl. People will come here for it because you can't get it in Chinatown anymore. Cheng had heard enough. He turned and hurled his cleaver at the wall. It split the wood of one of the pillars and hung there quivering. I am not making fucking shark's fin soup, he said, stunning the assembled chefs. Stephanie looked pleased she got a response from her taciturn genius. What sort of person you think I am? Cheng continued. Have you seen the shark fin harvest? Millions of animals, with their fins ripped off, thrown back in the sea, blood running in million gallons, fish tearing each other apart. For what? A gluey, stringy mess? With so little taste, we throw chicken and chili in to make it edible. No, it's not right. It's not decent. Cheng wasn't sure this was the right word, but it sprang to mind as he tore off his apron, flung it on the floor, and strode through the empty restaurant, across the shorefront and onto the beach. He pulled his cigarettes out from his back pocket and lit one, inhaling deeply until his head spun. Why did I come to this country, he thought. Who are these people? Why do I surround myself with idiots? And what was so wrong in Beijing? There were no easy answers to these questions. But as Cheng stood staring out at the sea, busy erasing and redrawing the shoreline, he realised that Stephanie was not to blame. She was desperate and lost too, probably wasn't serious about the shark's fin soup, and he needed the money, with a wife and 5 kids preparing to relocate to the British seaside. He finished the cigarette, prepared his apology, and went to retrieve his cleaver from the Shanghai Circus wall. And there you have it, today's story. So if you haven't read the little how-to video I did before this, it might be interesting just to see how I came up with that, given that I previously have shown very little interest and knowledge in Chinese cookery. But yeah, it was fun to write, and I pretty much followed through the thoughts I'd had about the words that were flung my way. And hopefully you enjoyed the result. And if you did, please subscribe, please share, tell your friends, and I will see you again soon. Thanks for listening.